Judas Priest are teasing something awesome. The Metal Gods announced the first dates of their 2025 tour, which it looks like will differ quite vastly from what Priest are doing today. So let's take a look at the Judas Priest Shield of Pain tour and talk about what we may expect from Metal Gods next year. Here you go. So, first of all, in case you missed it, after announcing a couple of joint dates with Scorpions, which, by the way, I think will be some of the most anticipated shows of 2025, Judas Priest started announcing the first solo dates around Europe for a tour titled Shield of Pain. The band's 2025 run will commence on June 14th in Oslo, Norway, and end on July 20th, 2025 in Oberhausen, Germany. And I think it's pretty obvious that those are just the first dates announced for right now, and I am more than sure that there will be more and more shows added to the list very, very soon, including possibly more joint dates with Scorpions on the bill, in addition to the Barcelona Rock Fest and Monsters of Rock announced earlier this week. Although I guess we have to make it clear that these Shield of Pain dates are in fact 100% solo Priest dates, as although we don't have a full list of opening acts as of right now, we already do know that Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons will open for Priest next year in Sweden. And of course, more information about these shows, including the opening acts, will be announced very soon. Not shall pass, friend or foe. What does this title mean exactly? A couple of months ago, Richie Faulkner confirmed that the band will continue presenting their latest album, Invincible Shield, live next year. But at least from a new name now, it looks like Judas Priest will not simply extend their current tour to 2025, but instead also celebrate a very important milestone for the band: Painkiller's 35th anniversary. And of course, in addition to the title, the poster itself shows the Invincible Shield, and more specifically its alternative cover version, and a saw blade wheel from Painkiller's monstrous motorcycle. So yeah, I think you don't really have to be a Sherlock to understand that it's a nod to those two records. It is important to underline that as of right now, Judas Priest haven't issued any official statements regarding this matter. And you know guys, as I always say, even if I would know a little bit more, I love and respect this band way too much to give anything out, so everything we're gonna do here is simply speculate. But from the information we've got so far, it actually does look like the Shield of Pain tour will be done somewhat in a vein of Iron Maiden's recent The Future Past tour, which setlist will comprise of 1/3 songs from Invincible Shield, 1/3 from Painkiller, and the rest being the band's biggest hits, which, although we Judas Priest fans of course most likely did hear live gazillion times, I mean, the band simply cannot not play. Talking about the show Judas Priest will bring on the road next year, I think the band might go for a similar structure as Iron Maiden did in the last couple of years, performing 5 tracks from each of those albums. And so when it comes to the band's latest outcome, Invincible Shield, so far Priest performed live its title track, Panic Attack, and Crown of Horns at almost each show this year. And in addition to that, they did play Trial by Fire twice and Gates of Hell just 4 times this summer in Europe. And since both of those tracks create a very unique atmosphere in a venue when performed live, I think there is a high chance that both of them will resurface in a setlist next year, especially since most of the fans in Europe and the United States have never heard those live. In addition, since Painkiller includes Battle Hymn, one of the best possible concert openers ever, there might not need to be a reason for Panic Attack to remain on the setlist, and instead there is a high chance we'll finally get to hear The Serpent and the King and As God Is My Witness live, especially since Rob Halford actually did tell me in this year's interview that the band was planning to perform it at some point. And in addition to those, if Judas Priest decide to switch it up completely, I really hope that the boys decide to perform Devil in Disguise as well, since I actually think that it is yet another hidden gem on this album that deserves way more attention. And overall, an interesting thing here is that both Painkiller and Invincible Shield are extremely intense albums, I mean, so intense that it would be very difficult to concentrate on those for any band. And I would actually argue that Judas Priest are the only band in the world who could even dare to attempt something like this at the 56th year of their existence.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So when choosing the songs from these two albums, the boys have to be very careful and include both high-paced songs, like both of the title tracks are, yet not forget about some slower ones, which would still not kill the mood. And Devil in Disguise is definitely one of those.
He's a devil! The devil in disguise!
But when it comes to Painkiller, the situation here becomes a bit more complicated, as Painkiller is a unique album for Judas Priest, meaning that it is one of the only Judas Priest albums in their discography, each song from which has been performed live at some point in their career. Although, I guess technically there is still one track that still hasn't sounded live from the stage, and it is Battle Hymn, since every time it did sound at the concert, it was actually just played on tape. But I don't think that, just like with the Hellion, the band would ever change that. And nevertheless, despite the whole fact that its title track is being performed live at pretty much every Judas Priest concert since its release, there's still a couple of hidden gems there that the die-hard fans would simply love to hear the band perform from the stage. Although A Touch of Evil has finally gotten some justice back in 2022, it still remains one of the most beloved Judas Priest songs, which does not get as much attention as the fans would like it to have. And therefore, in my opinion, it could definitely be one of those tracks which the band decides to include in the next year's setlist. Just like the song Nightcrawler, which Judas Priest has not performed live since 2012, despite the whole fact that it is, in fact, one of the best songs on the record. And in addition to these two, and I guess the title track, simply because there are some Judas Priest fans who would simply not let the band not perform Painkiller at a concert. There are two songs from Painkiller which Judas Priest fans have been begging the band to perform live for years now. Those, of course, being Metal Meltdown, which Judas Priest has performed with Rob Halford only 5 times back in 1990 and 1991, and Leather Rebel, which Judas Priest has performed live only twice in its entire history, and which, in my opinion, is simply a crime against humanity.
Hue of the night, blood and thunder rushing through to the dawn of light. The sky is turning red.
And when it comes to the rest of the setlist, I guess it would be the time for those songs which every Judas Priest fan loves and longs to hear at any Judas Priest concert. But at the same time, it would be a really cool opportunity for Priest to dive deeper into some of the legendary tracks that they haven't performed live for some time now. And as a huge fan of Defenders of the Faith, as most of you guys know, I really hope that the band would explore some of the deeper cuts from that record. But at the same time, since this year we all celebrated a huge milestone for Judas Priest, and more specifically the 50th anniversary of their debut studio album Rock'n'Rolla, and given the whole fact that the band has finally given its debut a new life in 2024, I have a feeling that Priest might reimagine some of their early forgotten classics, and who knows, maybe we'll finally get to hear such track as Cheater be given an absolutely new life next year. But nevertheless, all of this is of course just a speculation, and we don't even know for a fact that Judas Priest will go for something like this yet. Although, of course, it would make quite a lot of sense, since not only Iron Maiden concentrated on 2 albums on their The Future Past tour, but we also do know that Saxon will do exactly the same thing next year as well. And since so many fans have been begging Judas Priest to do something along those lines for years now, I think it would simply make quite a lot of sense for the band to finally give up and give their fans what they want. But what do you guys personally think about it? Please let us know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching the short video, guys, and please don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you still haven't done so yet. But more than anything, thank you so much for supporting me, this show, and Ukraine through this very and very difficult time. We will prevail. Slava Ukraini!